D4 and done, or should we say done with D4, which means you're also done with dental school. Are you trying to figure out the best way to get through dental school at your institution and start thinking about life after dental school? Stay tuned as we talk to a new doc, a new dentist that's going to share all the tips and strategies on how to survive dental school. Stay tuned. Let's go. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist Podcast Show, where we talk about getting into dental school, surviving dental school, getting into residency, and then life as a new dentist. Guys, be sure you are continue to share this content, like, comment, save, share, and share. This content has been produced for you so that you can gather information that helps you along your journey. Also, this episode of Ask Dr. Darwin is being brought to you by Get Into Dental Residency Challenge. Get Into Dental Residency Challenge, the ultimate resource that helps you jumpstart your application process so that you get attention getting into dental residency. For more details, check out the link down below. All right. Full circle moment. Around this time, 4 years ago, we had a pre-dental student, a non-traditional pre-dental student, share his journey into getting into dental school. And by the grace of the tooth fairy goddess and a lot of hard work, here we are 4 years later talking to Dr. Christopher Hudson. So first and foremost, congrats, Doc. And let's dive in. So reintroduce yourself for some of us, for some people who are meeting you for the first time, but for some people who have met you with this episode. Where's that episode? Yeah, this episode right here. Check out that episode from 4 years ago. And for those that did not see that episode, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name's Chris Hudson-Boyd, recent grad from Penn Dental Medicine in Philadelphia. Uh, yeah,
Awesome. And again, congratulations. Um,
thank you.
let's go back a little bit before we go forward related to your reasons for pursuing dentistry. So why dentistry again for you? Why did you make the switch from your previous career and your previous background into dentistry?
So previously, I did construction project management. My educational background from undergrad was got a degree in civil engineering. So I've always been pretty good at math and science, but somewhere along the way, because again, I graduated college in 2010, and I was in my career for about 11 years before I made the switch. Somewhere along the way, I kind of felt like I wasn't really doing much to help people, right? And then I also had this strong desire to really work with my hands. A lot of the work that I was doing previously was a lot of briefing, it was a lot of bureaucratic type work. So I wanted like a different challenge. I had a good friend at the time, this is probably like 2016, 2017, who was a third year at Howard's dental program and just kind of seeing like, what he went through and, he shared some of his stories and experiences. I kind of said to myself, like, I think I'd like to do that. And, one of the biggest components of it was just the patient interaction and then just being able to have this profound effect on like again using your hands to help people and that's really what drew me to the profession was just this ability to to craft things and then to also help with people's self-esteem and confidence. So that was the biggest incentive for me on why I wanted to change to switch it up.
And you definitely switched it up. Big switch, similar to what I did as well. I was an architecture student. We talked about that in
Mhm.
the previous episode of being a non-traditional student, what that means both before you get into dental school and then you apply, and then also after you get in, what that means as well, right? Because there can be a lot of challenges, not only not only for all students in dental school, but especially those of us that were maybe non-traditional, non-science backgrounds, right? So, but we do it. We do it, we did it, and we get through those challenges overall, right? Um, so let's talk a little bit about those challenges because challenges throughout dental school can be varied, it could be different for people, um, but they also can be a cornerstone of how you survive and how you get through, and what you have to do to get through and survive as well. And for people who are listening and watching, I think it's key to kind of get some pointers and some tips as to how to navigate some of the dental school challenges. So share if you can on some of the challenges that maybe you had first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, with maybe one or two things and how you navigated those challenges through those D1, D2, D3, D4, because every year it's going to be different.
Mhm.
At least it was for me because there's different curriculums, different things that you're doing,
Mhm.
right? So share a little bit about those experiences in dental school that were challenging. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Darwin. Just want to take a quick break from this episode and hope that you are enjoying it. First thing I want to ask is, did you know that a large majority of the individuals like you who watch these episodes are not subscribed to the channel, to the YouTube channel? Nevertheless, we want to say thank you for watching and continuing to share these videos and episodes with others. Next, I want to say is subscribe. Yes, please hit the subscribe button so that you get these notifications each time these episodes are released. Last is I wanted to connect with those of you who are seeking to become an advanced dentist and specialist. And I invite you to our next event called the Get Into Dental Residency Challenge. This is a special 4-day event that will give you direct access to the mistakes that you want to avoid when you're applying to residency programs, and also the 8 steps that you also want to avoid so that you do not have an unsuccessful application submission. The information that we will be covering over the those 4 days will be some of the tips and strategies that I teach in my one-on-one and group coaching trainings with clients who are continually and successfully being matched into and selected into high-profile residency programs here in North America. So, if you're pursuing or aspiring to get into dental residency this application cycle, this challenge is for you. Check out the link below to receive more details and join the challenge. And also, I would encourage you to enroll in the challenge via the VIP experience. The VIP experience gives you actually access to a 1-hour Q&A session every day of the challenge before we actually get started with the challenge. And it guarantees me to answer your specific questions that you and other VIP experience members have on a daily basis. So I'll see you in the Get Into Dental Residency Challenge, and let's get back to this episode. In each of those dental school years and how you navigated them.
It's a really good question. I think for me, and I'll take a two-pronged approach to this. So the first part of it was, right, Bachelor of Civil Engineering, now thrusted into this dental curriculum, which again, is really heavy in natural science, right? So the degree that I was able to receive back in 2010 was more applied science. Uh, Really, I want to say like the extent of like natural science for us was general chem one, versus in dental school, you've got the biochems, you've got a lot of the biological sciences. But where I was able to see a lot of overlap, right? The body's like it's the ultimate machine. I mean, what we see in the real world is just uh, more or less the regurgitation of how the body operates from pumps and valves, et cetera. It's just on a larger scale. I would say probably my first challenge, as it relates to just the difference in the what I was able to accomplish through civil engineering versus, starting out with a dental curriculum was just really getting like an understanding on how to understand and digest that info. Again, from an engineering perspective, there's a lot of math, a lot of physics. So, we get these formulas, so to speak, and you can derive and you can kind of figure things out, at least for me, on how to get the end result answer, right? Which, we all know 1 + 1 = 2. Uh, from the biological standpoint, from a lot of which we learned in that first year was always what's the best answer, because you could kind of make an argument on any of the answer choices in the multiple choice. I mean, obviously there were some that just did not work whatsoever, but the best answer was that concept. Took me just a little bit to kind of get on board with, but then once you start to see it and you start to um, you know, after all the exams and all the questions that you kind of go through, it becomes a little bit more easier. I would also say the second part that was challenging for me was I graduated back in 2010. So starting the program 2021, uh, as I like to say, paper. Paper was non-existent. We were given an iPad. Everything was digital, lectures, some virtual, some in person, a lot of in person, but, opportunity to also participate, in a virtual environment. So that was a little bit of a learning curve. Just kind of getting used to like the new technology, the new way in which, courses were provided, and then especially with like some of the online platforms that we use, where like lectures were shared. Again, not given like a paper handout, but just PDFs. It sounds simple, but I think for me that was just a little bit of a learning curve too, just because of how I was used to learning in the past. And then I think with anything too, dentistry, I mean, there's just so much information, but there's like a little amount of time, right, that they have to teach you. So, that expression drinking from a fire hose, I think is more or less an understatement for how, especially that first year was, because there's just a lot of information that you need to kind of digest. But once you kind of get into a flow and a rhythm, you start to collaborate with some of your classmates. It becomes doable. But I think for any non-traditional student out there, depending on, what their background was in, it just takes, a little bit of time to get your second win, but, you definitely can do it.
Now you mentioned second win. Um, any challenges that were different from first year, now going to second year or third year? What were
So
some of those challenges and how you kind of navigated those?
I think when I look at the transition from first year to second year, um, from a didactic standpoint, challenges might have surrounded a little bit around like first year is more again of the basic sciences. You transition into the second year, it's how the basic sciences and the specialties or just dentistry in general kind of work together. It was, in my opinion, an easier transition, because once you kind of had a pretty good solid hold on just the basic sciences, we go to dental school because we're interested in dentistry. So the material that was being presented was a lot more interesting, right? And just being able to apply the basic sciences to it, made things definitely a lot easier. Um, but now you also have an uptick in the preclinical work. So it's a matter of like now having to balance the hand skills with, you know, learning a little bit more about how dentistry and the basic sciences interact. But again, you find a way, you kind of find your rhythm. Third year, again, you know, you learn a little bit more about the specialties, but you also have that introduction to working with real patients. So then that creates, you know, its own challenge in itself because going from the mannequin to a human, I think for me, I didn't really find that transition to be challenging only because of what you know, the work that I had did previously was more project management based. I worked with like a varied amount of people, different backgrounds, different personalities. Granted, I wasn't, you know, super close to them. I mean, you know, us as dentists, we have a very intimate relationship, so to speak, with our patients just because of the proximity that we are to them when we're practicing. But you know, just being able to communicate and talk with people and kind of ease their concerns and fears, you know, I found that to be interesting, so to speak. And I enjoyed it a lot. You know, it reminded me why I wanted to pursue it to begin with. Um, and then as you transition into the fourth year, again, you kind of have like a little bit more of a solid hold on the clinical work, but then now you're starting to, you know, knock out the earlier on the board exams, the clinical and the written board exams, and then also starting to think about, you know, what the next chapters are gonna, you know, start looking like through, you know, applying the residencies or if you want to pursue private practice, et cetera. But I think for me, the biggest challenge was really like that first year, and then each subsequent year after that, you know, it got a little bit more easier, a little bit more routine. Um, but you know, as I kind of moved through it, it just reminded me of why I wanted to, you know, pursue the profession to begin with.
Yeah, and you mentioned the key thing that happens in D3 year and also D4 year, which is the transition into clinic and how that can be a challenge for people, even those of us that are we're used to working with individuals or having to interact with individuals in our day-to-day 9 to 5 work experiences before dental school, right? Relating with people, communicating with people, um, uh, discussing technical things with individuals who don't have those technical background or don't have those don't have that technical IQ, so to speak, like we do as dentists speaking dentalese, and everyone else does not speak that language and our patients and stuff. Just share a little bit more about how that transition into clinic, because you have the science, you've got the technical expertise that you're learning, right, with delivering patient care, and then you have the, oh my God, live patient. It's a real, it's a person. It's not a mannequin no more type of experience. Tell us like some of the things that helped you kind of navigate that transition, because for a lot of people that can make or break them, right? Not only for to get the requirements done, but also it can make or break or help them decide how they want to practice dentistry in the future. Meaning, maybe they don't want to do general dentistry after those experiences. Maybe they want to do something where it's more science background, like oral med or pathology, right? Where it's not directly hands-on patient care. Or maybe it's limited, specialized patient care where you're only doing root canals, or you're only seeing kids, or you're only doing um uh alignments, adjustments and for malocclusions, right? Um, that D3, D4 year can be not a make or break, but can be a very transitional time mentally about the future or your future thoughts and aspirations as a dental student, just by transitioning into and dealing with clinic. So share with us this last piece about how you what 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 tools you utilize to kind of help you make that transition when it's going to be, you're a little anxious, you're still a little fearful. There's unknown about, oh my God, mannequin to made made by God people, so to speak, right? Live people. What were some of the things that you did that helped you?
Um, I think, well, in the very beginning, at least, the beauty is, for the third and the fourth years, and being in the school environment, you get time, right? You get the time to be able to sit, have conversations with the patients, get to know them, uh, understand, right, like what their fears are, maybe understand, not just the fears, but what their overall goals are. When we look at like the procedures, right, to fulfill the clinical requirements, um, what I would at least try to do if time permits, because that's the other thing too, is right, like time is limited in dental school. It doesn't matter what year you're in, because there's always something to do, right? You're always on go. But whenever I had the opportunity to kind of be able to maybe watch a couple videos on YouTube before doing a crown prep, or even if I had the opportunity to go back into the preclinical lab to kind of work on like the mannequin, do like a crown prep right on an ideal tooth. I would take those opportunities. Now, those kind of came far and few between, but at least like having conversation with the faculty on like, okay, how would you approach this? Especially, I made it a point, and in my clinical environment, our group leader also made it a point that we worked with the same faculty on cases, which actually made it a lot easier just because they were already familiar. And you had somebody who knew the complexities of that patient, not just from a health standpoint, but then also just like their oral complexities. Um, so you get an opportunity to kind of sit with them, review any diagnostic casts that you had to get like an idea on what the best approach would be before tackling it. But I think it's really critical just to have that game plan before you did any work versus just kind of going in blind, because one, that'll just, alleviate your concerns, your fears. But then two, again, like you said, you're working on live people, God made humans, and we feed off of each other. So clearly, if you're kind of showing that you're a little nervous, or you might have a little apprehension to doing procedure, folks kind of, feed off of that. So I think confidence, just having that confidence that you can do the work, confidence in yourself, at least for me, just kind of made things a lot easier, going into it. So I feel like can never be too prepared, ask as many questions beforehand, and then, just again, having in your mind like what the steps are going to be, what the procedure is going to be, definitely just helps out, a ton.
Good, good. That makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. All right, we're going to pivot a little bit similar, but more focused as, with their challenges, they're challenging because they're hard, is right, as well, right? So, what would you say as a new grad for you at Penn? Because it could be different at other schools, but it also could not be different. It could be a thing that's similar for many of us at our institutions. What was the hardest thing that you had to deal with and that you did deal with about dental school? Or maybe there's two things. Um, and share a little bit about how you overcame some of those hard things about dental school.
Um, hmm. I mean, I think every day was, had its own challenge. I don't think there's any one particular thing that kind of stood out. Um, I would say maybe, I would say probably one of the hardest things was, again, and I'll take this back to first year, um, was just really getting a good hold on, like keeping up with all of the material that was being taught. At least for me, because again, a pre-dental background. I didn't go to school for biology or chemistry. Also, I have non-traditional, not, only in like the educational aspect, but then also too in like the trajectory, right? So it wasn't like I went from undergrad right into a dental program. I went into undergrad and I took a very long gap. 11 years is quite a long time, between finishing a full-time educational program before being thrusted into another one. So, um, it just took a little bit more time for me in the very beginning to, uh, you know, get back on track with like being able to manage a full-time educational program. But what was instrumental was, faculty advisors. I had a lot of faculty that were like very helpful, provided resources. I mean, the school too also had a number of resources, so they kind of like pointed me in the direction of, who to speak with, who to engage with, just to, you know, whether it was tutoring or just like general advice in general as far as wellness and just making sure that like you're not only being able to keep on track with all of the educational parts of it, but then you're also taking care of yourself. And then also like my core group of friends that I was able to to get with like that first year, whether it was study groups, sharing study guides, getting different opinions on like different types of like programs and things out there to kind of like better understand the material. So
Mhm.
those are like really, instrumental to me too, and to help me kind of get over that challenge. Moving along, I think once I was able to get like a real solid hold on that, everything, I don't want to say everything else was easy, but it made the transitions a little bit more easier. From like again a clinical standpoint, I actually had a few like challenging patients, but I, again, it just was a matter of communicating with people. Um, so I never really had a huge challenge in that regard, but I also have life experience. So I think that kind of helped, bridge the gap, in that regard. And then also too that, even though again, I went to school for civil engineering, the one thing that my program, my undergrad program taught me, as with most engineering programs, is there's a problem, like you can figure out a solution. So even from like a clinical standpoint, whenever I was presented with problems, I never just was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. The wheels were always churning in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe you can try this, maybe you can try that. Um, Thank God for YouTube. I mean, there's many times that I just went on YouTube, looked at videos, or TikTok, looked at videos to get like other perspectives on how to accomplish work. And most of the time I was maybe even able to like take from what I learned at the school, along with maybe what I was able to like see online, and then put them together and have a really nice clinical outcome. Um, so yeah, so I was trying to uh, put together my own toolbox.
Yeah.
That helped too in the long haul for me.
Yeah, yeah, and you figure it out, right?
Right.
Those hard things you figure out, and especially with our backgrounds, again, as non-traditional students and with the backgrounds in problem solving, right? Some critical thinking as well, but related to solving a problem. Um, that's what you do. You figure it out. You you turn hard into help,
Hmm.
as in you get help or you figure out ways to get help so it's not as hard. And you said two things, and this is the second time you said these two things, which was collaborations and interactions with faculty. So again, those that are listening and watching, a theme that's coming on how you survive dental school, a theme related to how you navigate some challenging situations, how you turn hard into help is collaborations with both faculty members, right? Finding faculty members that you can zero in on and they can help you, and be willing to go to them and ask for help, which is a whole nother discussion, right? Because guess what they're getting paid to do? Guess what your tuition is for? Is for them to teach you. So if they make themselves available to you with office hours, you better be the first one knocking at the door in the hours the office is open, right? But the other thing that you said twice was collaboration, collaboration related to friends, study groups. You've got to find your group. You got to find your group of classmates that you can study with, share resources with, um, to be able to make the things that are hard not as hard. Because you may have somebody in the group that is able to explain something like so simple that you haven't even thought about, and vice versa too. You may be able to contribute with regards to problem solving or thinking a certain way, sharing resources with one another. It takes a village, right? It takes a village of your co-dental students and the faculty to get through and to survive. So thanks for sharing that. Next, we want to hear about this one thing that maybe could improve dental education moving forward for the people who are listening and watching that are either in school right now or getting ready to get into school right now. What is one thing, or maybe it's two things based on your experience, one or two things that you would change about dental school? And just a sidebar, one of the because we well, a sidebar is dental school is constantly changing. There are some things that are constantly changing. There are some other things that are not changing. And that's a whole other conversation too. One of the things I heard you say about you having to make a transition from was how you were being taught, the format, right? From in person, listen to the lecture, you take notes type of delivery presentation to a PDF to a virtual platform or digital learning as well, right? That's an example of how school is changing. Because when we were in school, uh, what do you mean you don't show up for class? Like that's the only way you got the information because they took attendance and they also, I mean, we had note service. People would record stuff through a tape that you put at the front of the lecture hall or at the table where the professor was teaching, but you still had to go to class so you can supplement. You use the note taking recording to supplement any notes that you were taking in class. Now it's not like that. It's a little bit different, exemplary of the change. So what are based on your this experience at Penn and just overall maybe some things that you've seen and have had conversations with other students at other schools? What is one or two things that you would change about dental school?
I think probably, well, I say at the one thing that I really appreciated about my program was that the curriculum it actually I don't want to say constantly changed, but it changed a lot. Like even between my year and then the current D4 students class of 26, completely different, experience on courses, right? So for us, like you were just saying, um, we had like a component of like, some virtual courses, a lot of in person, a lot of opportunity to like even during an in-person class to watch it live. So I could be home watching it like as it's being conducted. And then, all of it being recorded so that you could always go back, reference the recordings. In the back end versus I think now there's like this asynchronous component where a lot of the courses they are viewed on this, I don't want to say on the student's own time. They have time built into their schedule to more or less review everything, and then they come together maybe every week or every other week, to have discussions, in-person discussions over the material. And I think that's really cool too, because it gives, folks an opportunity to kind of learn at their own pace. Um, as far as what I would change, I mean, this is discussion outside of like the curriculum, the cost. I mean, it's just so expensive. It's just ridiculously expensive. And I understand, you know, to a certain degree why, but at the same time too, the cost can be prohibitive to some people. And it might, you know, even deter people from even wanting to pursue the profession. So I know that might be a conversation for another day, and I don't know all of the, you know, the insides and outs to it, but I think that would be one of the biggest things, just the cost is just very expensive. But as far as my experience, like I really enjoyed, you know, my experience. It was challenging. It definitely made me it challenged me in ways that like I've never been challenged before. It's definitely made me have to think a little differently, perform differently, pivot, right? Constantly pivoting. But kind of like that, right? Like it just always kept me on my toes, which, you know, I think is great. Keeps the mind moving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these escalating and continuing to rise costs will keep the people's mind
yeah.
racing as well, because doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon unless you find help and resources that will help to defray or eliminate most of, if not all, costs. And there's some more information in a couple of our other episodes about dental school for free and ways to be able to basically have your cost for dental school be paid off for free. So you can go to school for free. Yes, you still have some obligation with regards to that, but it's no different than anything that you wouldn't be doing anyway, meaning having to give back some time and treating, caring for individuals uh, in exchange for an institution or entity paying for your dental school education, your learning, that investment that they're putting in you, you would give back with your time at their institution. But yeah, the cost. And here's another thing. We know that the schools need tuition to function. So much so that there are some schools that are increasing the number of students per class just so they can survive financially with the cost of running the dental school at the institution. And that's going to have some impacts too, right? Classes going from 100 in size to maybe now 120 each year for the next 4 or 5 years. That's 100 more students, which means more people to more students to teach, which means professors and faculty member have to take on maybe an increased load. Then you have capacity, right? Location or how clinics, the spaces for clinics, you got to add 20 more students in each of the classes. You know, that means they have to spend more money and maybe potentially expanding facilities. So it's going to have an impact across the board, all because of the cost. And most of the time, the schools pass those costs on to us as candidates and students, and even as alumni, right? Because they're asking for those donations, and you'll be getting those emails soon, Doc, for Alumni Development Office. You know, congratulating you as part of the Penn family. And yeah, by the way, break us off. You got five on it, and they don't mean five as in 50. They mean five as in 5 grand or 50 grand. So yeah, so cost. One thing to change about dental school. Absolutely. I agree. Um, Great insight on that. Tips, advice, knowing what you know now and how you navigated dental school these last 4 years as a non-traditional student with a lot of experience that is very essential for navigating dental school besides or outside of understanding the basic science components, right? What are some things that you would want to share to pre-dental students and the students that are just starting, getting ready to start, or have already started dental school so that they can complete it, survive and complete, right? And on time.
No, yeah, that's the other part, right? The big part, yeah, making sure you finish on time because if the clinical requirements aren't done, you're not.
Right, right.
I think, one of the biggest, and again, I'll go back to that word, but I am a true proponent of just collaboration, communication, right? Um, and not just collaborating with like students in your class, collaborating with upperclassmen, lowerclassmen, collaborating with the residents if your schools have any residency programs, especially if you're interested in any particular specialties, and just really putting yourself out there. I think, one of the things that I really tried to do was just establish relationships with pretty much everyone, right? From staff to the faculty to the students to folks more behind the scenes. And I think that's really helped out. It helped me out a lot. Just because you never know, right? You might be, in a situation where you might need a little bit of help from somebody who might not even be on the dental track, but and you'll get it. Folks are a little bit more open, helping, and engaging with you, obviously, when they know you. So I think there's like a lot of power in networking. And again, not just in your school, but other schools. If you get an opportunity to attend any conferences, I definitely would agree. I mean, so would suggest that, you take that up. Because then you get to meet folks again from other places, get to collaborate, and again, get to communicate with more folks. So I think that was really the biggest thing that I tried to do. And I saw power in that even in my previous profession. And I was like, okay, I definitely need to, continue to move forward with doing that, as I embark on this new profession. So, and I found that to be, very helpful.
What else? What else should
Um,
people be doing and considering and implementing tips and advice wise so that they are successful in completing dental school?
and then, to further add to that, right, from a requirement standpoint, um, I found that, when you're able, especially with that core group of folks that you might start studying with that first and second year, right? You might have a case that they need and they might have a case that you need. And then you can kind of, find ways to horse trade. And my school was a little different. I think they did a pretty good job at making sure that we were able to get all of the cases and the requirements that we needed. For me, one of my biggest challenges was with endo, with getting like, the number of canals. But I just reached out to, different folks, ones that I knew that were already complete to see maybe if they had any cases, just a little bit of horse trading in that regard. But yeah, just keeping those open lines of communication with, the folks and, can help you out. And again, every program is a little bit different. I know there's some that where you have to kind of hustle a little bit more to, find the cases for your requirements. But for mine, pretty much, I want to say pretty much like I was able to kind of get everything that I needed, um, uh, just through the number of patients, that the school had. But for that situation with the endo, yeah, I definitely, um, reached out and just tried to, talk with folks in my class to see if, we could do a little horse trading, and that seemed
Yeah.
to help.
Yeah, it takes a village,
Yeah,
right? Help others because you don't know what help you're going to need as well.
exactly.
And that
I
goes
think
along in life too. Yep.
I think not having that mindset that, I can do it all on my own because it doesn't always work that way. You
Right.
know, especially when you get to the clinical part because people are unpredictable.
Yes.
The mannequins aren't. They keep that mannequin shows up no matter
Right.
what time of day.
That
But
mannequin right
people
is mannequin's there right now,
right
chilling,
there
waiting on you.
waiting on you, right? But third and fourth years, folks, people can be very unpredictable. So
Yes. And so can your classmates or some of your classmates. So, meaning you may have some classmates that don't understand the value or don't want to collaborate. And you have to be able to deal with that too, right? Everybody's not going to be compassionate, caring, and sharing with regards to patients, information, and everything else. Don't be frustrated by it. Just know that it exists and move on, as in go to the next person.
Yep.
You don't have time to be worried about, I don't know why Susan be like that or what, Tyrone is like that, whatever, whatever. I don't know why. Hey, next. You ain't got time. You got to get out. You got to get this
Yep.
DDS, DMD. You got to get out, right? Along with those tips, are were there things that you saw students do that led to them getting in trouble that that you saw or heard about to the point where the tip is don't do that. Don't do that thing that he or she just did, or don't start thinking like this because that's going to send you down this rabbit hole called you may not finish in 4 years.
I really subscribe to honesty is the best policy. I mean, we know the rumor mill goes wild, right, in dental school. I mean, I haven't seen never saw anything firsthand, heard many things, but my takeaway from that was I just tried to play by the book, only because, hey, once you start cutting corners, you know, maybe it might have worked out for that one person, but it might not work out for you. It's very unpredictable. So I just tried to play by the book. I was able to get out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
play by the book. Be honest. Don't try to bend the rules because guess what? The person that you that you're looking at that's bending the rules, the school knows. Faculty know because that person ain't the first person trying to throw curveballs and trying to get over. And they're like, don't give them an excuse to make you the example that they blow up on, right? Student, student Dr. Hayes is caught in cheating scandal, right? With three other students. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it
happens.
has happened. It's happening right now as we speak. Just because you don't hear about it happening doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And just because you may know or hear about students that are doing it, just because you see them in clinic doesn't mean that they haven't been served some type of warning or notification and that they may be 2 seconds away from being expelled or on academic probation, right? Be honest. Play by the rules. Don't don't try to throw curveballs thinking that you're trying to go straight by throwing the curveballs because it's hard. Because listen, it goes on, and unfortunately, it will continue to go on. I mean, even in private practice, there's people that cheat. Cheating happens in different ways, called Medicaid fraud, called not documenting and keeping notes, not doing perio charting, and then they up against the dental board and they have nothing to show for what they said they did, what they billed out, and what they made the patient pay for. Well, that provider is going to pay for something later on too, like a suspended license. So it's much bigger and expands beyond just dental school. So be honest, play by the rules. Anything else? One last thing you can think of? Tips?
Um,
What about
you
for
know what?
non-traditional students like us?
I think, well, a tip for everybody, but and even more so, be right with the non-traditional students. I mean, I think just enjoying the journey, right? Like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it's 4 years. I mean, I think when we look at 4 years on paper, the time, it seems like a long time, but it really goes by fast. And I think just kind of, while you're in it, just enjoying, every little bit of it. Because this is the one time, and I hear it a lot, or heard it a lot from a lot of the faculty, and obviously we'll start to learn it, as I progress through the next steps. But like this is one of the few times when you're going to be around, you know, however many colleagues, not just, your classmates, but then also with the faculty where you can sit, you can pick each other's brains, you can review cases, you can kind of get different perspectives on how to accomplish the clinical side of things. So just really, being able to take advantage of that. I think is a big thing, and we kind of lose sight of it when we're in it, just because we want to get through and we want to get done. But if you take a step back and kind of just soak it all in and really understand that like this is going to be almost the only time you'll be able to be in this situation. It gives you a different appreciation for it.
Now, when you say enjoy the journey, give us one example of that. How do you enjoy the journey? Because people are listening like, Dr. Chris is crazy. What are you talking about? Enjoy? I ain't got no time to be enjoy what? I can't even enjoy my sleep. How am I going to enjoy the journey of these 4 years, these, 1,300 or 1,500 days back to back to back to back to back? Well, I feel like I'm being hazed by the tooth fairy. Like, how do I enjoy the journey? What's an example of that?
Um, I think one of the biggest examples of it, at least that I saw, and this was kind of more towards the end, right? Like when the light was a little bit more closer to the tunnel. Um, the friends that you make, right? Like even outside of the dental work, the dental requirements, the tests, the clinical exams, the patient interactions, but like the friends that you're able to make, like this might be one of the, only times that you'll be around each other every day in the same building every day, kind of going through things every day together. So, just those small little things, just being able to appreciate and enjoy those. That's what I mean about enjoying the journey. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
it's once in a lifetime, right?
it
You're not going
is.
to go through this again.
Hopefully not, right?
Hopefully not,
I'm
right?
not trying to go
Yeah.
through dental
Yeah,
school again,
yeah.
especially knowing what you know. We
Right.
don't know that when we first start. We're like, oh, I'm so happy. I got in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be a dentist. Then that first day, it's like, boom,
Yep.
light lights are off and the fire hydrant or water is on, and they tell you to open up,
Yep.
right? But yeah, friendships, the people that you meet, the friendships that you develop over the years. Um, I know for us in our school at Maryland, specifically our class, we were a type of class where we would do stuff together. Or there was a group of us in our class that we used to do things together out, and I'm talking about even outside of course, studying and day-to-day stuff at school, as far as vacations, um, people were getting married, having kids, celebrating those events. And even to this day, we meet up. Some of us will meet up at dental meetings, right? And all go out to dinner and give updates about life, but also about our businesses and our professional journeys and stuff. And friendships, friendships as well. So, what's next? What's next? Life after dental school, life after achieving and getting your DMD from Penn. What are some of the things that you're planning on doing and getting ready to explore and expand now with this new expertise?
Right. So for me, I'm going to be doing a GPR, general practice residency at it's through St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. I'm really looking forward to that. Um, from a non-traditional standpoint, and again, I think a lot of my non-traditional folks can really they probably might share a similar sentiment, right? There's a reason why we made the transition on, pursuing dentistry. So for me, what I'm most looking forward to is having an opportunity to learn a little bit more, grow a little bit more, and just kind of see, what I like, what I don't like, to more or less formulate a plan on what the next steps in the future look like. Uh, when I kind of look back on like my previous career, make the decision on going to school to become an engineer at 17, 18, and it was a good run while it lasted, but I really want to be a little bit more methodical about the decisions that I make moving forward as it relates to, my career. So I think taking this opportunity to learn and grow and develop my hand skills and my speed especially, I think it's gonna be really fun just to, to see how it all shakes out.
And that's so good that you have considered continuing in that manner. Because there was, even though you've got a great education from UPenn and other schools as well, for those of you listening that just graduated or get ready to graduate, guess what? UPenn, University of Maryland, where I went, University of Texas, Houston, NYU. Unfortunately, there's not enough time to teach you everything that you need to know about life as a dentist, clinical and entrepreneur or business wise as well. Not enough time. And which is also one of the reasons I think many of us, or at least we understand, that one component of dentistry is lifelong learning, right? Especially right after school. Yeah, you're eager to get out there, start working and everything, but there are things that you don't even know you don't know. And a residency at least gives you an opportunity to explore more and explore more with ongoing guidance and tutelage and expertise from your faculty attendings and other experienced dentists that that have been in the dental game for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years as well. So that's great that you have made that decision and you understand the importance of lifelong learning, right? Because there are things that you're going to learn as a GPR resident that will expedite your decision making and may even keep you out of trouble with the board as well, right? Not that, you got a license now, you should be worried about, oh my God, the board is looking at me. No, not that, but just, we talked about being honest and integrity and ethics related to the things that we do in dentistry, and providing the care to the people that entrust us, right?
Right.
And there's some things that you're going to learn as a resident that's an next step from you being a dental student, but also lessons that will provide a nice foundation for continuing to learn, whether it's as a general dentist or even as a specialist, if you're thinking about that one day. So that's great, man. Awesome, awesome. What's the best way for people to contact you if they have questions or want to talk to you more, maybe specifically about UPenn? Maybe some people that are thinking about Penn, applying to Penn. There may be D1s that are going into Penn right now that just missed you with you graduating. We got people, the class of 29 that may need to hear this or may need to talk to you more in depth about Penn, or maybe even some other schools that you know about through colleagues that you've interacted with or relationships that you've developed over these 4 years. What's the best way for people to contact and connect with you?
Best way is via Instagram. My handle is C_HUDS72.
There you go. There you go. Those that are watching, look up top here. Those that are listening, push rewind and go back and get it. But it's right here. All right. Doc, so proud of you. These 4 years went by fast, man.
Yeah,
Probably
flew by.
Yeah, well, faster for me than for you, because you were in it. I wasn't in it. But it just seemed like yesterday, man, that we were talking, that we connected through some mutual friends here in Jersey. And the whole notion that, our families are connected as far as families being from the same hometown in Virginia. And then also the families also moving to New Jersey around about the same time back in probably 1920s or 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. It's crazy how that happens. But, the tooth fairy knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing, and I will continue to extend that on behalf of the Tooth Fairy to extend that to you. If you know, we're here to be a resource for you as you are navigating life after dental school, after surviving dental school, and developing those friendships and those professionalships, if there's such a word, but those professional contacts, because you're going to need to continue to ask questions and tap into the village, because there's a lot of folks, a lot of us out here that have had a lot of experiences, and we can tell you what to do and definitely what not to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So congrats again, and so proud of you. And for those of you listening and watching, guess what? We're proud of you too. We'll be even more proud of you if you do this. Go to the next episode. Go to the next episode right now. Go.